Hi everyone. So I wanted to make this video to just kind of like keep you update on what I've been working on for my EDD program, my doctorate program. It's actually, I'm going to be sharing with you information about my dissertation topic. Now, if you don't know what is a dissertation, it's pretty much it's a research that you perform when you are in grad school. It's like your final project, and you pretty much pick a topic and you perform research, and then you do the research, you present your results, and then you just present your findings on a paper. So I just wanted to share with you what I've been working on for the past semesters, and I actually haven't started my research, but I just wanted to share with you what I've been working on. So my topic is actually going to be related to promoting physical activity in college students through the Zumba fitness program. Now, if you know me, you're gonna know that Zumba fitness is one of my favorite things to teach, formats to teach, and I have seen that Zumba has done amazing things, and they have really a good program, and they actually are very successful, and they're very popular. So I just thought about why not research and perform some research regarding the Zumba program and what are the strategies that you use to promote exercise in individuals, and why not try to use what they use, the strategies they use, and what is it about Zumba that makes it so popular, so we can also use it for other type of activities, for just promoting exercise in general. So my big thing for me is I really want to promote exercise, and I think there are so many benefits of exercise, and I just want to just pass that word out and just kind of figure it out, maybe do some research, and so I can help more people in using the psychological side of things, in being able to using intrinsic motivation to promote exercise. And now the population college students is because I really love working with college students. So you're gonna see here on this presentation why I chose to work on this topic, and then you're gonna see I'm gonna share with you some research and just a little more detail on my topic of my dissertation. So let's get started. So what is the issue? Well, the issue is a sedentary lifestyle. So what is a sedentary lifestyle? It's actually the lack of physical activity. Now, sedentary is pretty much something relates to no movement. Now, the information that I'm going to be sharing here on the issue, this is not just pertaining college students, but it's just pertaining to anyone. This is pertaining to adults, it's pertaining to the elderly, it's pertaining to children. So it's not just college students. We know, and we have research to support that a sedentary lifestyle will put you at risk of chronic disease. Sedentary lifestyle, so what does that mean? It's a lack of movement. That means you sitting for too long per day, too many hours sitting. You have to make sure that you keep yourself moving. Now, some people might say, okay, well, I go to the gym once a day, or an hour a day, or I go running an hour a day, or I just do my exercise 1 hour a day. Okay, that's great, but what are you doing after you exercise? Are you sitting for 8 hours straight? Well, if you're doing that, you're still putting yourself at risk. So the point is that you have to make sure that you keep yourself moving and you're not sitting for too long. And I do understand that now we're at home, and we don't have, maybe we're working at home and we're so busy working at home. But you have to make an effort that you gotta remind yourself, I gotta keep on moving, I gotta stand up, maybe clean here my apartment or my house. I gotta get myself moving, because sitting for too long is what we will be considering a sedentary lifestyle. So the lack of physical activity is the fourth leading risk factor for global death. So risk factor, this is conditions that can put you at risk of dying, or maybe a risk of developing a disease. Now, this is actually, the other three are going to be hypertension, also high blood glucose levels, and smoking. So in the world, we know that lack of physical activity can put you at risk of dying or developing chronic disease. And then this is the four leading risk factors in the world. So if you're looking at other countries, not just the United States. So like I mentioned, what are the other three? High blood pressure, high blood glucose levels, And also we're looking into the, what am I blacking out? High blood pressure, high blood glucose levels, and also smoking. So sedentary lifestyle, poor diet, and overweight obesity can increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, and various types of cancers, and also depression. So this is something that you probably hear all the time and maybe sounds like, okay, familiar, and it's like I'm repeating myself, or you already know it, but it is. It is. We know this is the research, this is what we know, and this is pretty much what we can tell you. So again, this is not just related to college students, but it's related to everyone. This is a problem, okay, because a lot of people are dying of heart disease. The number one killer in the United States is heart disease. So I know right now we're dealing with the COVID and the issues that we have right now, and that's probably seems to be a lot of taking our interest, right? But you also gotta make sure that you take care of yourself, that because you're gonna be at home, you might be bored, or you might be sad, you might be stressed, whatever it is, you gotta make sure that you keep yourself moving. Figure out a way that works for you. Exercise at home, keep yourself moving, and do something for your health. So, physical activity in college students. Because we know the research, we know that what I just told you, putting yourself at risk of chronic disease and all these conditions, well, we have guidelines, and these are governmental guidelines. These are the physical activity guidelines for Americans that was established, was actually published in 2018. It's by the Health and Human Service. So it's a government website that posts, and they do research, and they are actually posting these guidelines, because we know that if you're engaging in the minimum of this activity, the amount of exercise, this is the minimum in order to prevent chronic disease. We also follow the guidelines from the American College of Sports Medicine, ACSM, and they have very similar guidelines as the physical activity guidelines for Americans. So the physical activity guidelines for Americans recommend that we engage in at least 150 minutes per week to 300 minutes per week of moderate aerobic intensity physical activity. What is a moderate intensity? Well, this is like not super hard, it's something that like a brisk walking, it's something that you're going to start maybe, start to break a sweat. It's a moderate intensity. So if you look into your week, 150 minutes, at least 150 minutes per week. Or if you want to work at a higher intensity, you can engage in at least 75 minutes to 150 minutes per week of vigorous intensity physical activity. Now, this is all per week, the total amount of minutes per week. And notice here that we're looking into aerobic intensity. I want to emphasize aerobic intensity because the research has shown that aerobic physical activity can, prevent chronic disease, can prevent decrease your chances of chronic disease or putting you at risk of chronic disease. 150 minutes to 300 minutes of moderate intensity, 75 to 150 of vigorous intensity. Now, this is the minimum. And remember, just because you do your 30 minutes per week, your 30 minutes per day, does not mean that you're going to be sitting all day. You have to make sure that you keep yourself moving throughout the day. So if we're looking into timing 150 minutes to 300 minutes per week, just to give an idea, it will be at least 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week. So if you're looking at 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week, 30 times 50, it's going to be 150. 30 times 5, it's going to be 150 minutes. So that's the minimum. Now let's look into the statistics in college students. So about 18% of college students participate in physical activity 5 or more days per week. So we only have 18% of the population of college students that are engaging in the recommended physical activity guidelines. Only 18%. And 23% engage in zero physical activity, zero. So they don't do anything. They're like completely sedentary. So that means that, the rest, it's probably engaging in in less than 5 days. So they're probably doing maybe 2 days per week, 3 days per week. The majority are doing 2 or 3 days per week. This is not right. This is concerning, because think about it. College students are going to grow up, and this is the behaviors that they develop when they're young, they're going to carry through their lives. So it's a problem. As of 2012, 60% of adults were overweight and obese, and they encompass the ages of 20 to 39 years of age. So it's a big portion of the population. 60% of these adults that are not engaging in physical activity, 60% of these adults who are overweight or obese are in the age group of college students between the 20 to 39 years of age. College students are in this age group. So it is concerning. These are the statistics. And again, this is not something that I'm making up, but it's something to be concerned of. Why college students? Well, this is kind of what I just mentioned, because these students, well, college students, this age group are actually, it's a great group to target, because they are in the age group that the behaviors that are adopted in college, they are very likely to be continued through their adult life. So if they develop behaviors, healthy behaviors, they're exercising on a regular basis, they're eating healthy, they're more than likely they're going to continue to engage in these behaviors as they graduate and continue and develop a family and get married and all these things. So it's a great group to target. Now, there is also little research on interventions that have focused on college students and exercise adherence. A lot of the research is looking into mostly, adults or other populations, but not solely only focusing on college students. And there is also few studies that have focused or analyzed programs in college campuses focusing in improving or engaging or motivating students to engage in physical activity. So there is not so much research on this age group. So it's actually, for me, it's actually a good thing, because my research can help the field and can expand the research, because there is not much research going on in this age group, and also interventions that are going to focus on just solely college students. So how do we target college students? Well, for college students, and this is, of course, this is my topic, right? And I'm focusing on college students, but this is also related to, it can be applied to adults and other population. But how do we target them? Well, we have to make sure that we consider motivational factors that will encourage them to be active. So we're looking more into the psychological factors, using psychology to motivate students to be active, to motivate them to participate in physical activity, and to motivate them to continue to do this. So motivation is going to be a big thing. And this is actually what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be focusing on motivation. So let's talk about what is motivation. So what is motivation? Motivation encompasses the psychological aspects that drive people to a specific goal. So it's the psychological aspects that are going to encourage people to engage in an activity, engage in a specific goal. And we have different theories in motivation. The theory that I'm going to be looking and focusing on my research is going to be the self-determination theory. And what does the self-determination theory look into? Well, the self-determination theory focuses on motivation, and they talk about motivation is self-governed to the extent that his or her or the individual's perceived reason to participate in a behavior is internal. So this relates to internal factors that are gonna drive someone to participate in a behavior. So internal factors. The self-determination theory, it states that for motivation to occur, we need to make sure that we satisfy basic psychological needs, that we meet basic psychological needs. And these psychological needs are driven by three states. We have a motivation, extrinsic motivation, and intrinsic motivation. So what's happening here is that these states move into a continuum. So from a behavior being on the stream, non-self-determined, to being self-determined. So what does it mean, non-self-determined and self-determined? Intrinsic to extrinsic to intrinsic. Self-determined means that I am the self. I am choosing to do this because I want to do it. Self-determination. Determination. I'm driven to do this because of internal factors. So we're moving into this continuum when we're looking into behavior, and you're like, this is an individual that hasn't done it at all. And what's going on? Let's say they decide to engage in exercise. They decide to start an exercise routine. Well, the person has never done it. They are not going to be driven by intrinsic factors. Intrinsic factors are more related to enjoyment, to liking the activity. They are not going to do it really because they enjoy it. Otherwise, they will be doing it. They're going to be driven more by external factors. And this is a continuum. They're moving from being a motivation, and then moving into a continuum to, okay, now I'm driven. So if you're not doing it, you're more unmotivated, right? You're not driven by that. Extrinsic motivation, I'm doing it because my doctor has told me, or because I want to fit on a wedding dress. And then if you start continuing, that will be your drive, your force of why you're doing it. But if eventually we switch you to an intrinsic factor, that's actually what we want, because that's actually going to help with exercise adherence and for you to continue to engage in the activity. So intrinsic motivation. So if you see here, the continuum goes from non-self-determination, so that means I'm not motivated at all, or I'm driven by external factors, to being driven by intrinsic factors. And that's what we want. We want the person to be driven by intrinsic factors, because intrinsic factors means internal. I'm doing this, I'm engaging in physical activity because I enjoy it, I have fun, and it's part of me. That's what we want, because that's actually what's going to increase the chances of this person to continue doing it. So intrinsic motivation is the last stage of the self-determination theory continuum. And it's driven by enjoyment, by the inherent satisfaction of the behavior, because I really like it. I know for me, intrinsic motivation is the driving force for participating in exercise, because I really like it. I love it. Wherever I go, I just engage in it. If I'm traveling, I'm going to find a way to exercise because it's just something that I really like. So they engage in physical activity because they enjoy it. They like it. And again, some people might engage in physical activity because of external factors, because they think it's something they have to do, right? I don't feel like I have to do it. I mean, it's just part of me. I just want to do it because I love it. So that's the people this is intrinsic me. Extrinsic is going to be like, oh, I don't know, I have to do it, or my doctor has said this, and that's not going to be as successful as in the long term. And we want people in the long term to continue to exercise through the years. So what's happening with the Zumba program? Now, I talked to you a little bit about motivation, right? And intrinsic motivation. Now, the Zumba program, they seem to have this increased focus on intrinsic factors and internal factors. They actually focus a lot on enjoyment. So studies have found that exercise adherence in people participating in fitness classes is going to be improved when the primary motivation comes from intrinsic factors, intrinsic motives related to enjoyment. So we know that in the research, indicates that intrinsic factors are going to have a better chance in having people continue to exercise. And that's a good thing, because it's driven by fun, by enjoyment, because people like it. And now with the Zumba program, they seem to have an increased focus on intrinsic factors, and they really focus on the enjoyment part, on fun, enjoyment, having a great time. And that's something that we want. And the Zumba experience. And let's look into a little bit. If you've never done Zumba and you are not familiar, let's talk about it. And if you have done Zumba, you probably can agree with me. The Zumba experience, well, the Zumba experience is very unique. It actually, the focus is on having fun. The most important thing is to have fun. Zumba is all about having fun. If it actually has a motto that says teach the workout, join the party. Right there you can tell, okay, join the party. The party is fun. It's just driven by fun and enjoyment and having a great time. Now, what's happening with Zumba, the instructors actually are trained to motivate their students to have fun while dancing. It's the whole atmosphere of Zumba. It's just this thing that, instructors are doing it. Even the way you're dressed, like the instructors wear with bright clothes and they're very energetic. And even when we go to the training, they teach us that. They are like, you have to make sure that you enjoy, you portray yourself as a positive person, and you're always welcoming everyone. So it's all this, when you go to a Zumba class, it's this atmosphere that you're getting, and it's a great energy and people like it. So instructors motivate their students to have fun while dancing, because it's a dance program. Dance fitness, dance workout, not just mainly dance. So which encourages students to focus on the process instead of the outcome. So what they're saying is that, we're like, just don't worry about the steps, just enjoy it. Mistakes, don't worry about, like, if you got the steps or not, just keep on moving. And it's also mixed with great music and steps that are simple to use, and people feel like, oh my God, I can get this, I can understand it, and everyone is having a great time. Then it's all contributing to this intrinsic motivation and this internal motivation that is going to help you and continue and help you and encourage you to continue with activity. So let's look into the psychological effects, because I can tell you many things about Zumba, but really, what do you have in terms of research, right? What is the research saying about Zumba? And because I'm focusing on psychological effects, I'm going to share with you the psychological effects, the research that demonstrate the effects of the Zumba program. So research performed by Neary and Hughes, it was a qualitative study. It's a qualitative study means that they perform interviews and they're asking people's opinions of the experience. It's research, but it's not like looking into numbers. It's more like interviews or case studies that they're asking people for their experiences, and they ask people to tell them thoughts and what they think. So a qualitative study by Neary and Hughes found the participants in the Zumba. It was a Zumba program. It's all Zumba classes, and the participants enjoyed the framing of the class as a party and perceived the program as not following the rules as other group exercise programs. So with a lot of the participants, they thought that they didn't have a good view of other group exercise programs, because they have other opinions. They were like, I don't feel as welcome, it's so strict, and Zumba lets me just be and I feel welcome, and it's such a great party. So almost all participants in this study describe Zumba as fun. Now, one participant stated the following. This is just a comment just to show you, kind of summarizes everything about what the participants were feeling or thinking. So this is what one participant said. I found that Zumba is fun, whereas I can say that about every other workout I've done. Whether group fitness or individual, there is something fun about the Zumba experience because it's fun. I just want to go back to it. So notice the word fun. They really think about, okay, it's really fun. I enjoy it. It was a blast, and that's why I want to go back to it. There is other research by Domin in 2016, and it's a group of researchers. There were significant improvements in mental well-being and psychological distress after a 2-week intervention of Zumba classes on a sample of 24 physically inactive women. So they found that there were psychological benefits after just 2 weeks of performing Zumba classes. on this sample of inactive. So people, these are females that were not engaging at all in any exercise. Now, this is another study by Araneda and Tenori. It's a 12-week Zumba study, and it was performed on 13 females, ages 29 to 61. And they show a positive exercise adherence, with most participants attending 17 or more Zumba classes. So this is actually was a twice a week program. So they were doing 2 days per week for about 50 minutes of Zumba. So they found that the participants didn't drop out not many participants drop out. So it was good exercise adherence, and this is actually 12 weeks is pretty long, but it's actually, they were able to follow along, and a lot of participants didn't drop from the research. So the participants commonly expressed that Zumba was fun and didn't feel like exercise. They also enjoy exercising in a community. So it was a group space, right? And they felt welcome because they were different females or individuals with similar body size. So this is great. And again, if you can see, it's all about like the words fun. They didn't feel like exercise. They just felt like they just kept enjoying and having a great time. So just those were just few researches, few studies, just to make my point of how people, what people are saying, or what this research has found about psychological effects in Zumba. Now, the research indicates that the Zumba program can be an effective way of promoting physical activity and improving exercise adherence. It can. And a core component is, if you think about the Zumba program, a very important component is going to be enjoyment, which is going to be crucial for intrinsic motivation. We know that, as we discussed before. Enjoyment is going to be very important for intrinsic motivation. Now, enjoyment, we know that physical activity that is perceived as enjoyable, something that you like, and helps people feel good at the moment, and helps people feel good about themselves at that moment, is going to increase intrinsic motivation. So this is going to be good for intrinsic motivation. So when individuals engage in physical activity to improve their mood or energy, they actually receive immediate positive feedback when they are exercising, and they want to continue to do so. So when they are moving, they're dancing, or they're exercising, and they have fun, and they're enjoying, and they're receiving this feedback, immediate feedback, because it makes them feel good about themselves. So this is actually like, it's going to help them because it's going to improve their mood, and now they feel so good about it, and they want to go back to it because it's going to help with their intrinsic motivation. This feeling good is going to help them with, oh, that was so much fun, that was good, I really like it. That's going to help my intrinsic motivation. That's going to encourage and increase my intrinsic motivation, and now I want to go back to it. When is the next class? So this is what we want, and the enjoyment part. So that's why, again, my point is, I think it's something that we should probably continue to do, to expand on the research, and we can help for improving exercise adherence. So to finalize and conclude, my dissertation topic will work on and just filling the gaps in what we currently know about intrinsic motivation and the Zumba program. So that's pretty much what I want to do in terms of my research. I kind of want to expand on what we know about intrinsic motivation, and I want to use the Zumba program to figure it out, maybe other strategies that we can use to help kinesiology professionals and people in the field, to help people continue to exercise. Because again, we have a big problem about chronic disease and lack of physical activity, and we want to get people moving, but we want to make sure that we do it in the right way, that we do it in a way that people are going to continue to do it, that people are going to enjoy it, and trying to keep them staying away from the external factors, because external factors, they are not going to be as successful like keeping people in exercise. We want people to continue to exercise for the long term. We want them to exercise for the life. That will be the goal. But how can we do that? We need to make sure that we figure out a way that we can do it so people engage and participate because it's internal, because they have fun, and just figure out what is it that works for them. So I hope that you enjoyed my presentation. I know it was kind of long, but I hope that it was informative, and I'll keep you posted with as I continue with my research. Thank you.